Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to the Indy's Trusted Servant Show on InspireSmall.biz with yours truly, Danny O'Malia, Indy's Trusted Servant. What is Indy's Trusted Servant? Well, I do customer service training and keynote speaking about customer service and organizational culture. I learned all of that from the hand of the master, my late father, Joe O'Malia, back in the O'Malia Food Market days. And even before that, at the age of 9, he had me working in a small grocery store in Broad Ripple that he eventually lost and came back later and started O'Malia. So he also taught me to never give up. What is the Indy's Trusted Servant Show on InspireSmall.biz? I like to describe it as lively local small biz and community talk where you can feel the pulse of Indy. And today, my guest is a new friend whom I met, I guess, through Catholic Business Exchange, his name is James Medawar, and he's with an organization called Schooley Mitchell, and they're cost reduction specialist. Is that a good?
That's a great way to put it.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And I've told him that I wish I would have known about cost reduction specialists back in the grocery days. They might have been able to help us. But at any rate, James, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Danny. Happy to be here.
It's great to have you. Tell everybody about James first, your background and what you've done up to now and how you came into the cost reduction ranks.
Yeah, great loaded question. I'll try not to bore everybody. I'm originally from the Detroit area, lived there for the first 11 years of my life, then moved to New Jersey, then found our way to Carmel, Indiana.
This is with your dad's job?
My dad's job, yeah. I was too young to work, so I wasn't working at a grocery line, and they were moving me around at that point in time. But
So how old were you when you moved to Carmel?
Middle of 8th grade, so what is about
12 years, 13?
13-ish. And then we were at Carmel ever since. I went to Carmel High School, graduated in 99.
Okay.
Took a gap year before gap years were popular.
Oh, that's it. Yeah, that was unheard of back then.
It was.
What'd you do during the gap year?
I worked construction. I came home when I kind of said, I'm not going to do college this year. Got to figure things out.
That was pretty smart, though.
It was, because I was going to waste a lot of my time and my dad's money. So I'm like, let's figure this out. Take a break. And at that point in time, the stats were against those that took breaks. But to me, it was the greatest thing I could have done because he made me work construction for
my dad made me work construction one summer, and it sort of made me think I don't want to do this forever.
Right? It was a great experience. I mean, I loved it. Got to work with your hands, meet interesting people. Be outside, learn a trade. You need to get paid pretty well. But it was a great motivator to kind of look down the future and say, all right, when I'm 40, 50 years old, there's no way I'd be able to keep up. So,
exactly.
So it was a great motivator to get back in school. So I finally finished at Indiana Wesleyan University with my degree in accounting.
Did you do the online thing, or was that before they got into that?
It was before online.
Yeah, okay. Mm-hmm. Good school, actually. I've been up there a couple of times and spoken to the business students. Yeah. It's been a while, but nice little school. Yeah. And you majored in?
Accounting,
okay. And then what?
Well, then I started working for St. Vincent Hospital and Healthcare.
Doing what?
I was reconciling their general ledger for unposted cash.
Did you know my friend Joe Ford?
Yes.
Great friend of mine.
He's a great guy.
Great guy. Yes. Big Xavier fan, So, yeah.
He's been retired for, I don't know, it's been a while.
Years. Yeah, he just lost his wife to cancer last year. Great couple and a great guy. Joe, if you're watching, how you doing? Go X. So you're with St. Vincent in the accounting department, and then what?
Well, I was in the revenue cycle department. But I did work with Joe because all of the reports that we did went funneled up through him. So we had to work closely together. But I stayed there for 15 years. They've gone through their name branding, so now they're Ascension St. Vincent.
Right.
And I was with, like I said, I was with them for about 15 years, kind of moved up through the ranks in the revenue cycle. Great experience. One of the mottos in the revenue cycle, or I guess in any business, is that you can always collect more money quicker, which kind of is a great segue into Schooley Mitchell because every single business can save every dime that they can.
So did you go direct from Ascension St. Vincent to Schooley Mitchell?
Yeah.
What caused you to do that?
I've always wanted to own my own business, and just the opportunities just presented themselves in such a way that it was like you can't force things to happen. and I'm struggling with my words, and I apologize to everybody. Things just started to happen to the point of changes that were occurring, and it was the right time to exit, and I already found the opportunity and made a bed fit.
So is Schooley Mitchell a franchise?
They are a franchise system,
now,
and I'm an owner
okay.
of an office here in Indianapolis.
Are there other Schooley Mitchell offices in Indianapolis?
Yeah, there's a couple.
Okay, so there's no geographic boundaries or anything,
None.
right?
Mm-mm.
Okay,
No.
So Schooley Mitchell is a cost reduction company,
We
right?
are. Yes, we are.
Okay, so now tell us about your, you have kids?
I have kids. I have 3 kids, 9, 7, and 4.
Okay.
They're great. They're very active in sports and a bunch of activities. And
yes.
God love my wife because she is the one that's taking them everywhere all the time. So
Does your wife work?
she does not exchange time for money. She works very hard, but
I know. Believe me, my wife. We had 3 kids, and I know.
yeah.
My mom took care of 4 kids, and my dad, as hard as he worked in the grocery business, always said she works harder than I do. So
Yeah, it's a tough job.
It is. It is a tough job, and God bless that. So let's talk about Schooley Mitchell and the price reduction thing. First of all, first question is: do you have any other employees, or do you do this by yourself, or what?
Right now, it's my franchise is a single van operation.
Okay.
We get so much support from our corporate office up in Stringford, Ontario, where they conduct a lot of the back end work for all of the franchisees, which allows us to acquire clients and maintain the relationships. To be out there on the network to help promote the Schooley Mitchell brand.
Okay, are there any particular industries that are your target industries, or is it just could be anything? Can any company use cost reduction, or is there? You know what I mean?
Every company. We specialize in several different key areas
Tell us about
that's
that.
essential to every business in order to operate. So areas of like telecommunication, which are anywhere that you want to communicate. So cell phones, landlines, internet, things of that nature. Credit card processing, waste management, small package shipping, fleet fuel, electronic signatures, utilities. But in the state of Indiana, we really can't get into that because it's so regulated. Other states, there's more opportunity.
Yep.
So I kind of just leave that one alone because of how the state functions with that.
Okay, let's pretend I still own Amalia Food Markets, and I don't know if you have any grocery clients. There are not many out there, but how could you have helped a family-owned grocery company?
Right. No, that's a great question. So what we would have done with our engagement is we would have walked you through our process, and you would have selected which cost categories you want us to review. So for Amalia's, it would have been probably your internet and phones, your credit card processing, and probably your waste management. You probably didn't do any shipping or.
We did have a warehouse that just shipped among the stores.
Right, so kind of more like a freight or like a little courier, but
no,
not like
we had our own truck.
yeah,
Okay,
but like UPS, FedEx, stuff like that.
Okay, so no, but for instance, could you get into property and casualty insurance?
No, that we would if that was a pain point for O'Malley's for property taxes or casualty insurance or business insurance. We would have we partner with a lot of other businesses around.
So you would do a specialist.
We would have said, hey, we'll bring in this person that specializes in this area to help you out.
That when you were a retailer, property and casualty insurance was always a huge deal.
Oh yeah,
right. So you worry about anything from a fire to a tornado to somebody slipping and falling in the store and suing you and all of that.
Right.
But do you do any retail at all?
We do have retailers.
What kind of retailers?
We have a lot of retailers. So we have liquor stores. We have just your independent boutiques all the way to several chains, from restaurants to
a lot of restaurants.
We have a lot of restaurants, a lot of commercial cleaning businesses, a lot of e-commerce, schools, manufacturers. The list goes on. I mean, if you could, we have over 25,000 clients across North America. That we've helped out and find savings for in those areas that I mentioned before.
How's it structured? This might be a little too technical, but okay. So when you hear, let me jump to some irritating TV ads that you see for lawyers that want you to sue somebody,
Mm-hmm.
and they say we only get money if we win,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Right.
Right. How's that structured with you guys? So somebody signs a contract,
Mm-hmm.
but you really can't help them. Maybe they've got the cheapest provider
Mm-hmm.
already. How's that work?
Yeah, those are great success stories where clients, are optimized when we've gone through those reviews.
And you guys would tell them that?
Yeah, we would come in, and so kind of back up a little bit with just how the engagement works is that we would collect the data and understand the business.
Right. It takes a while.
Well, it takes about 6 to 8 weeks to complete the process.
Yeah.
But we're looking at payment history and contracts and making sure they haven't been overcharged, looking at how they utilize certain services and making sure they're not paying for things they don't need or want. And then lastly, renegotiating on our client's behalf to make sure that they get the best rates possible for the services that they need, for the best services that they need. So after we go through that level of engagement and the first 6 to 8 weeks are done, I come back and present what's called a value report, which gives them all the different options of where we think we can find them savings, if savings exist.
So let's go back to the retail side for just a second, and it could be a liquor store, it could be a restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say that their lease is up, and they have to renegotiate the lease with the landlord.
Mm-hmm.
Do you help with that?
Not on the leases. It's really just in those cost categories that
Okay.
I mentioned, which is telecom, credit card processing, waste, small package shipping. So that's UPS, FedEx, and all that stuff.
Speaking of credit card processing, couple of things. One is that back in the days, one of the big expense problems we grocers had, especially the family-owned grocer like myself, was check cashing. People would bounce checks, then you'd have to go chase them down. Well, credit cards have taken care of that. Nobody writes checks for their groceries anymore, or very few. But is there a lot of savings available with credit card processing?
There is.
I know a lot of, in the networking I run into a lot of credit card processors. So they're pretty competitive, I take it. But talk about that area. Is there savings usually for credit cards?
Yeah, there's usually savings for the credit cards. It's a credit card processing is really a complex market because you have there's so many different hands within the pot for that transaction where the gateway or the interchange, they get their piece, the bank gets their piece, then obviously the credit card itself gets their piece of that transaction.
So that's a lot of the cost.
That's a lot of the cost, but then there's so many variables within those costs of, is the card present or not present? So if you think about those that are making purchases online, that's cards not present and physically going into a terminal.
Right.
So there's a different rate for that. And then there's a different rate for, is it MasterCard, Visa, Discover, American Express?
Right.
Then if you continue to break that down into more categories, is it a cash back? Is it a rewards? It's like what other type of bonus or structures go along with that? And each one of those have their own rates that you, the retailer, are paying for that transaction to go through. So it comes out of your margin.
So what you're saying is there's a lot of potential there.
There's a lot of potential because what happens after you sign up, and they're probably getting the best rates, market changes all the time. Your business structure changes all the time and what your volumes are. So you can be going into a tiered model or a non-tiered model, there's so many different variables with that rate. And then there could be other rates that come out that are more available, but once you've been sold your credit card processor, your rates, it's always good to do a review a year down the road, 2 years down the road, and making sure that you are still getting the best rates possible.
Okay, let's jump to the networking side, which is where I met you.
Yeah.
Because Catholic Business Exchange is one of the networking things I do. Who are you looking for? What kind of business? If you had to name your top 3 categories as you go out and network, who are you looking for?
Yeah, I love that question. I am looking for non-for-profits. I love working with not-for-profits.
That's a very good area. I have a lot of not-for-profit clients with customer service training, believe it or not.
Yeah, they are, I'll be honest, the ones I've worked with, they have done such a great job keeping their margins tight. Because a lot of their grant money doesn't cover their administrative costs.
Right.
And if we can find them savings on the administrative costs, that can go right back into their programs and serving the community.
Absolutely.
So that one's a really, truly win-win for everybody.
Not only that, but the donors look to see what percentage is going to administrative versus going to homeless or whatever the category is, right?
Mm-hmm.
You don't want something that's up there in the 25% range.
Mm-hmm.
You want something down below 10% if you can.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
As a donor. So not-for-profits is a good possibility for you all.
Yep.
What else?
I love working with manufacturers and construction companies. There's a lot of cost that can be alleviated from their end, and savings that we have been able to generate for them. And I also love working with schools. Schools also have a great opportunity to reduce some of that administrative burden, because once we are starting our engagement, we help as a partner with them for these expense categories, which are very detailed, and our audits go line by line, service by service. So these are things that those administrators no longer have to worry about as long as we're engaged, because we're going to be continuing to audit and monitor and make sure that they're being
So they could
charged
do more of their own job.
Exactly. It takes
right?
the time off their plate. They can focus on other things, and knowing that, the areas that they've contracted with us is taken care of. And we'll continue to review it. And again, back to your original question, it is also a contingency fee. So
Yeah, I didn't quite follow that up. So
right, yeah,
go into
it is
that.
a contingency fee base. So if we do not find savings for our clients, we don't charge any fees, but we continue to look for opportunities.
So you might do this 6 to 8 weeks of studying up on the client and come back and say, you're good now, right?
Yep.
Do you want us to keep watching?
Well, our contracts say that we'll continue to watch.
You'll continue to watch. Okay.
So the reasons, there's two primary reasons on why we would not find savings. One of them is they're optimized. They got the best rates out there for right now. And then we'll go back in six months, a year, and see if there's anything else available. The other thing is that they could have recently signed a contract. So there's no wiggle room within the contracts at that point in time.
But the contract is up at some point.
Exactly. So we'll come back and review prior to the expiration of that contract.
And
we'll
you
let our
bird dog
clients-
that for them.
We bird dog it. We flag our systems and say, hey, we'll send that reminder 4 or 5 months before the expiration. Say we're going to be starting a new analysis and provide you with some options.
That goes back to a point you made earlier about the back room support you get from Schooley Mitchell. Obviously, you don't have the time to do all this stuff. That's where all this backroom stuff helps, right?
It certainly does. And they do an awesome job. I get to work with some really great people that have become experts in these expense categories, to where they know exactly what they're talking about. They know exactly who they need to contact, and really make sure that they provide the right support, not just to me, but also for the clients that I serve, and make sure they get the best service possible.
So let's take restaurants for a minute, which of course, as we know, my dad used to say, if there's any business that I know of that might be harder than the grocery business, it's the restaurant business. Obviously, they've taken a big brunt with COVID and the help situation and all of that. Would you take a restaurant and say, your produce supplier is charging you too much, but this produce supplier will get you the same quality for less money? Do you do that stuff?
No, not on that, because that's too niche for that specific market.
Okay.
So a lot of the things that we're working through are like more of those national suppliers for the telecom, the waste,
Back
small
to
package
the
shipping.
original stuff. I got to keep thinking. You guys are very specific, and there's some stuff you can't handle.
Right, and we have to be that way, because if we want to call ourselves an expert, then we better be an expert in those fields. And if we start stretching ourselves too thin, then we cannot call ourselves experts in this field and be as effective as we want to be.
Then you're the jack of all trades, master of none.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Don't want to do that.
Yeah, so they're very careful. And we release new expense categories all the time. We have a research and development team up in Stratford that looks at so many different possibilities. But again, it's the trial and error to say, can we be an expert in this field, and is there opportunities for us to find savings? And if it depends on what that success ratio looks like, because if they're not able to be truly successful, then we also don't want to waste our clients' time and give them false hope to say, hey, we think there's something here, and then come back and say, I guess there really isn't an opportunity. So we want to be very careful when selecting
Okay.
those categories
Gotcha.
and where we're going to specialize.
Back to a point you made earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say one of your clients that you're working with says, I think my lawyer or my accountant is charging too much.
Mm-hmm.
Would you have an expert you'd send them to then?
I'll say it's always good to get a second opinion and always good to have a secondary review. If you think your accountant's charging you too much, if they wanted a recommendation for an accountant or an accounting firm,
you would be able to give that to
I'd
them.
be able to say, maybe I network and trust these people.
And this is
I would be more than happy to get you in touch and they can do a review. And if that's a better fit for you and at a lower rate, then, go ahead.
And this is where the networking becomes double valuable.
Exactly.
Maybe you might get a client, maybe you might serve an existing client better.
Exactly.
Because you've met this accountant or this CPA or this advertising agent or whatever it is, right?
Yeah, whatever their pain points are. Because we like to try and figure out not just can our services help them, but where are they also struggling? Because we want to make sure that we can help solve those problems. And if that's an introduction to another specialist, another area, or another company that specializes in fixing that problem, we want to get it to them. And that's just, like I said, that's free help because we don't charge for any of that. It's just helping people succeed is kind of at our core. So if we hear of a problem and we know of where there could possibly be a solution,
you'll try to give them some ideas.
Absolutely.
Even if it's out of your bailiwick.
Yeah.
Now you've only had the franchise how long?
I bought mine in September.
So 9 months or whatever. Are you, in your mind, are you hoping to add more employees eventually?
Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Do you know what, let's say a Schooley Mitchell typical franchisee that's been at it 10 years, how many employees might they have? Or is that a really vague question?
It's kind of a vague question because it also has to deal with or address the aptitude of that franchisee, because some want to, really grow and hire and have salespeople and account managers and, administrative support for the franchise. Others kind of say, you know what, I got out of the corporate gig because I don't want to manage people.
Yeah.
So I just kind of want to, do my thing and that's going to be good enough for me.
What's your mindset? You're the mindset that if the
I wanna
time is
grow.
right, you want to grow.
Yeah, when the time's right, I want to grow. And help more people and support more businesses than I can.
What have been your big challenges since September, if there are any, and I assume there are?
Yeah, every business has their challenges. I would say that one of the things, because it's a great concept. It's a high reward, no risk business concept. But I think the biggest challenge is that businesses out there don't know cost reduction consulting is a thing.
I know that.
And I think that's kind of, I don't want to say that's the challenge, but that education piece is one that takes a little bit more time in the sales cycle to let them know what is it that we do, help them see the value. And then also, I get asked all the time, okay, where's the catch? Where's the catch? And it's like, well, there is no catch. If we do not find savings, we do not charge you a dime.
That's hard to believe.
It really is.
It's hard to believe. When the lawyers are saying that, I don't believe them. but maybe that's true. I don't know.
Right.
By the way, I think did I run into you at the networking thing that the city of Carmel does?
I ran into you there and also ran into you Business Spotlight. I run into you everywhere, Danny. I love it.
So there are a lot of great networking things, and we'll give you a tip. We ran into each other in March at an event that the city of Carmel sponsors. It's every 2 months, and there's one. Well, shoot,
just passed.
It's passed. Yeah, it was May 25th. So it will be in July again, and it's at the City Hall. You might look up City of Carmel, and oh my gosh, that event in March. They had the fire department, the police department, and that's where I got one of my guests coming up, the EMT guy for the Carmel Fire Department. Oh. The schools were there, the street department was there, and they told you when the streets were going to close.
The city developer?
Yeah,
that
all
really
of
cool.
that. Yeah, very, very good. So if you're in Carmel, especially around Carmel, the next meeting would be in July. I think it's the third Wednesday, maybe. You might check that out.
Yeah,
and you mentioned Biz Spotlight, great networking event. And the Catholic Business Exchange obviously is mainly Catholics, but there's just a lot of good networking events.
Yeah, there really are. But, to your point of that meeting in March that we ran into each other, the EMT, I'm glad he's coming in because I was going to mention something that he said that was really impressive they do.
Yeah.
And I'm going to let him tell the story, but...
you talking about the bleed control kits?
Well, not only that, but also the app on the phone for the CPR folks.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of cool stuff that Carnival's doing when it comes to that.
Yeah.
So I don't want to spoiler alert that. But
Where do you live?
I'm in Noblesville.
You live in Noblesville. Okay, great. Well, what's your how does anybody get a hold of you? I almost forgot to ask you that.
Oh, man. Well, I'm on all the social media platforms. LinkedIn, Facebook.
What do you go to?
I primarily stick with LinkedIn.
But I mean, if somebody wants to reach out to you and maybe hire you for cost reduction, how do they find you? Website?
Yeah, I have a website, but I'll also give my phone number and email address if that
Both.
works for you.
Works for me.
Awesome. My phone number, I love phone calls, 317-669-9521. And then my email address is james.medawar@schooleymitchell.com.
Better spell Medawar.
I was... So it's James. M as in Michael, E as in Edward, D as in David, AWAR, at Schooley, SCHOOLEY, Mitchell, MITCHELL.com.
Okay. And you said one other thing you were going to... You did... Oh, what's website?
Yes. SchooleyMitchell.com/J Medawar.
J Medawar, no period.
No period.
Great. James, thanks for coming in.
Danny, thanks for having me. This is fun.
It's good to see you. Next week, Andrew Young, the head of Carmel's Fire Department's EMT division, is going to talk about the bleed control kits that they're doing. It's fabulous. Also, the Safe Haven baby box they've got at the 106th and College Fire Department that has saved 3 babies and 1 very recently, and other good stuff that they're doing. So tune in next week, inspiresmall.biz/Indy's Trusted Servant. Thanks to Ryan Henry for making this available to all our friends, and we'll see you then.
Thanks for watching this episode of the Indy's Trusted Servant Show. If you liked this episode, be sure to like, share, and subscribe for more updates. The Indy's Trusted Servant Show is produced by InspireSmall.biz in Indianapolis, Indiana. For more episodes of the Indy's Trusted Servant Show, visit www.inspiresmall.biz/Indy's Trusted Servant. Thanks for watching.